sirens blare. Feel the static in the air. Next gen rising, we don't care about the fear clinging there. Step in line, hear the beat drop. Body, mind, so we don't stop. Don't stop. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly. March to the future, neon glow. Through the fire we will grow. Every move a deadly flow. Next gen rising, let it show. Eyes ahead, the rhythm calls. Stand up tall, we break the walls. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Next Gen Training here on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett. Be sure certainly to hit the like button as you come in tonight, as we go over these topics tonight. Certainly helps with the algorithm, and consider becoming a subscriber to the network. We're very close to getting monetized, and as you can see, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you see our Cash App. So certainly anything that you want to give to myself or Coach personally. We certainly appreciate. Now, again, I'm not sure if Coach is going to be with us tonight. I know that he has got a new gig. I know he is a basketball coach or assistant basketball coach, and so I know there was going to be some, just working out the schedule this week to see how games and everything goes and whatnot. So we hope that he will join us a little bit later tonight. But certainly, I don't want to delay the show. And could tell you, first of all, welcome. Good to have you here tonight. But what did I tell you? Steelers are losing right now. So I'm always worried about Thursday night against against an AFC North opponent. So again, they're never gonna make it easy on me. So definitely, they gotta see if they can score some points before the half. But yeah, never I never had a good feeling going into this game, regardless of how other teams are going and whatnot. Again, they always make it interesting on these Thursday night games. So. But in any event, hopefully they can pull it out. Seems like they're at midfield right now with less than 2 minutes left. Hopefully we can punch it in and get the lead before half. But that being said, again, good to have everybody here tonight. Certainly, I'm gonna, as I'm always asking, how are your pies? Your physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual health. How are you guys doing? We always like to do a check-in to make sure people are in a good place. So certainly, I'm physically, I'm feeling pretty good. Certainly I'm making some modifications to my gym. I'm kind of adding some equipment and some attachments to my my power rack that I had built a few months ago, and so getting some of the last parts in tomorrow. So just to be able to do more safer exercises and whatnot. I haven't squatted in over about a month now. I wanted to lay off of that because I think I was getting a little bit too heavy into that, but I plan to go back to it. But I figured my lower back needed a little bit of a rest, from that, and strengthen it in other ways. But I'm definitely looking to pick that up again. But overall, physically, I'm doing well. As I said last week, I had my physical numbers are looking pretty good overall, so I'm pretty happy about that. Intellectual, definitely learning a lot. Certainly, just even doing these shows. I got to tell you, I'm always that type of person who always believe that, certainly, uh, I have to be a student before I can teach something. And so just even researching for these topics where I have to, certainly do a lot of the preparation and the slide decks I do. I learn a lot, just in doing these. And not only that, but recalling experiences that I had to make this a little bit more personal tonight. Certainly, this show gives me an opportunity to really, get the brain working and processing and making sure that I'm staying on my game and that I'm giving good information that hopefully you guys can take advantage of. Again, this is two bold opinions, just kind of giving information. Don't take what we say verbatim. We're not experts in this field, but certainly we have a lot of work experience. Training legs are my favorite. I hate you already. Especially with me being tall, man. I got like a daddy long legs. I'm like 80% legs and short upper torso. So for me to go all the way up and down, it takes a lot of work. But yeah, um, but I learned just in this process. I certainly I learned a lot that and it just keeps me sharp for just the present. To live and operate in the present. Emotionally, I'm in a good place. Good with the family. Everyone's doing well. And but again, my growth and my spirituality. I mean, it's crazy days out here, but my faith is growing stronger over time, and it's gotten simplified over time. I think one thing people think spiritually, a lot of times people think it's kind of like in the ether and like chants and ums and a what's the word, esoteric experience. And the more I live my life, my faith just gets simpler. You know, um, and so there's a lot of things that are religious that I don't focus as much on anymore. And I've just simplified my life and just gets to what really matter in life. And certainly those I can try to influence. I try to get them to think about those things also, rather than just you know um, uh, religious ritual, but try to live the lifestyle every day, and but above all else, live in gratitude every day, understanding that you can certainly be in a much better, worse position than what you are. So the fact that I leave this house every day, I never take it for granted that I get home every night, and to be able to be on with you guys and share information. So I'm very grateful, certainly for the life that I have and the opportunities that are in front of me. And so I'm gonna take advantage of every opportunity that I have in order to share. So this series of shows that we've been doing, we've touched on pretty much everything since we started this show. Put it this way, if this was like a book, right? If me and Coach were going to write a book on, steps to success or some other type of title, this is basically what we're writing, but we're writing it sort of in real time. So if you were to go back and watch all the shows and just take a compilation of everything that we did, I mean, imagine it just being a book that we are. Putting together. This is sort of our magnum opus, and I'm not sure how many of these we're going to do, because I think what we've given is a lot in terms of how a young person can be successful, and or anybody can be successful. Certainly using some of the things that we've shared. And so again, if you take these things and if you apply them, that's the important thing. You apply them, that we hope that that you would do well, and that you would be able to benefit from what we're sharing. Again, but as always, supermarket approach: take what you can use and forget the rest. And hopefully we can share some insights that can certainly benefit some people. So with that, we're going to be talking. So we started this talking this specific set of shows, talk about career. So we talked about how to search for jobs. So again, Coach shared with us the first show in this series. We talked about different sites you can go to find work, and to look for do your research on jobs that can lead to certainly a good career. Know what the pay skills are and what requirements are, and what sort of educational paths that you want to be on. So we talked about that, and then applying for those jobs. And last week's show, we talked about your resume and what makes for what makes for a good resume, what what it should include, things you should highlight, things you shouldn't, and the transparency that you should put into a resume. All these things, again, very important when it comes to that, because this is basically your resume represents you and your story. Basically, what your resume is really is to highlight the key notes in your story. Now, again, if you're a young person who's just getting going for a first job and whatnot, yeah, you may not have a resume because obviously you haven't really done anything yet. So but as you gain experience, and accomplishments in the jobs that you have, you want to add that to the story that you're telling, the portfolio that you're spinning. So you can switch this, David. Make me certainly the smaller end. I definitely want to be able to highlight the points that are in the deck. So if you can make me smaller, way smaller. Yeah, there you go. And how you can go in and how you can make impact in the interview. One feeds off of the other. You cannot go into an interview confidently if you don't feel good and have a good feel about your resume. Your resume should really speak for you. All you're going to do in the interview is basically highlight and expound on the things that you put in your resume. Now, if you are unsure about your resume, or if you fudge some things in your resume, which is a no no, but if you've done those things, then it's going to make the interview process harder. And again, a good interviewer is going to be able to sniff you out. If you've been jiving them about about your credentials, they're going to find out pretty quickly whether or not you've been truthful or not, and that's going to automatically disqualify you from the resume. So again, your resume should be something that you should be proud of. You should be able to talk about all day, just like let's say if you're into sports, your favorite football team. Unfortunately, like I said, mine's the Steelers, and they had a turnover before the half. So I could tell you, we in for a long one tonight. But in any event, um, you should be able to talk about those things. The accomplishments or highlights in your resume, you should be able to talk about those things with pride. If you're short on experience, like I said, you're getting your first job, then you should talk about those attributes that that make you good for position. Your enthusiasm, your attitude, your willingness to work, your willingness to learn. Those are things that you need. If you don't have any work experience at all, those are the things that you lead with. Come in as an empty cup looking to be filled, that you can take instruction. All those are things that you should be able to highlight. Certainly in the resume, or if you don't have a resume, in the interview. Again, which we're going to um, that we're going to go into that. And can tell you it's right. Anything that you put on your resume, be willing to defend it, stand on it. If they question it, no, you should be able to push back and defend why you put it in there. You should have a story for every talking point in your resume. You should have a story that a real world practical experience that you can go to and see how what you did in that highlight, how it had an impact on the bottom line, how did it impact on the deliverables that you put in place. You should be able to stand on those things. But again, that's why the resume. That's why it's good to have that resume looked at, to even have little sessions where maybe someone may question you on some of the material there. How confident are you about with this that you're putting down? You say you're an expert in a particular skill set. Are you really? And so those are things that you need to certainly start to flesh out. So we're going with the next step in the process. You're able to get your resume got submitted. Someone reached out to you. It could either be a recruiter who has a job at a place, or you applied directly and someone from the actual company called you up directly wanting to interview you. So the process has gotten started. So either recruiter submitted you, or you got the interview on your own. They have your resume, they have what you submitted, and now we're going to get into that point is in terms of preparing for the interview. Which again, if you did your due diligence in the resume, that should give you certainly an extra layer of confidence when you go into the interview. Also, think about when you do go to the interview, again, not to get overly spiritually here, but I think you need to be a liberal sower when it comes to your resume, right? I see a lot of people, they do all the work to have a resume, but then they sit on it. You should be applying if you're really serious about trying to find a job, and you have a work history and whatnot that you want to get. Minimum 5 to 10 submissions a day, not a week, not a month, not at one, a day. You should be putting your resume using Career Builder, LinkedIn, Dice, whatever things, reaching out to recruiting agencies and whatnot. You should certainly be able to put it out. You should be sowing liberally. There's a Bible proverb that talks about, sowing your seed. Some's going to fall on thorny ground, some's going to fall on rocky ground, some of it's going to fall on fertile ground. You have no idea where the seed is going to go. But if you're trying to just pick and choose where I'm going to apply here, I'm going to apply here. No, apply everywhere. If it's remotely around your skill set, don't be shy about applying. There are people who are in great positions right now, but they had to apply in the hundreds in order to get those positions. But if you're only doing a couple here and there and hoping for the one to come through or hear back before you apply again, you'll never get anywhere with that. So you have to be very liberal. Hey, shout out to Sean Bolden. How you doing, sir? Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Shout out to you as well. I'm
Yes,
just listening and getting tips.
I appreciate I appreciate it. Go chime in anytime you need to. But yeah, but definitely it is a full-time job. And you can't go be weary in that. And again, you have no idea where the offer is going to come from. So again, be liberal in your sowing. And it's going to land where it's going to land, but are you going to be diligent to the task of always pushing forward? Now, I've known guys who've applied 500 interviews. 500 resumes submitted, which led to about a few dozen interviews that have landed to the jobs that they had. If you work in sales, it's the same thing. How many cold calls, how many lead calls that you have to make before you land that sale? And these days, even in the dating market, how many times are you willing to shoot your shot before you find the one that says yes? When I was looking for my wife, I had a document. I had a resume. Bottom line, I had a resume. And I put that resume out there to anybody who would listen to me until I found the one who said, yeah, I can rock with this. So again, this principle of sowing and reaping, it applies everywhere in your personal life, your dating life, in sales, in business, in sports. It applies everywhere. But unfortunately, a lot of times I see people when it comes to looking for a job, their focus is too narrow and the number of shots that they shoot are too few. And yet they're hoping that they get the one, or they fall so much in love with this one place that, oh yeah, I'm perfect for this job. And then you don't get a call back. And you're like, well, what happened? So again, don't grow weary in this process. But you've done the work and you've got the interview. You got an interview set up. Now sometimes interviews can be like in a phone interview, like I said, especially if you're talking to a recruiter, they might want to just do a kind of highlight, sort of high level, not too technical or what have you. But the type of interviews I'm talking about now is when it's going to be somehow there's going to be a face-to-face of some kind, either virtually or in person. How do you prepare for those type of interviews? And I think hopefully some of the information I'll be sharing tonight will be a benefit to those who who might be either you're looking for work or maybe looking for a change in your career or looking for something else. Honestly, that's one of the best times to look for a job, to be honest with you, because it's always good when you have a little bit of leverage. Like, I don't need the job, but I would like something else. If it doesn't work out, I'm still good. I still got my existing position. But don't wait until if you're thinking about doing something else, don't wait until you lose the job, you're out of the job, start looking again, because sometimes they say a lot of language is nonverbal. And again, a good recruiter, a good interviewer, they can sniff, oh, this person really needs a job. They haven't been working for 6 months. They need a job. But for the one who's like, look, I would like to work for you if, again, if you make me an offer I can't refuse. And if you need my skill set, then come out earnestly to the table and see what's going on. Again, you play from the power position a lot of times when you already have something, but someone's coming after you say, hey, I think we can do better. All right, I'm willing to listen to you. But it gets a little tedious when you've been looking for a while and nothing's happened and the bills are piling up and the unemployment insurance is about to run out. And now you're like, oh man, I'll take anything at this point. And a lot of times they'll know that and that can have an impact in terms of your pay and whatnot and what they'll tell you in the interview. So just be mindful of those things. So let's get into this. So again, nailing the interview. So kind of where does all this start? So again, interview preparation. What kind of prep that you do for the interview before it starts? So that's skip here. Okay. So you want to do some prep ahead of time. So again, one of the things that you can do before the interview, especially if you know the interview is going to be a few days out. Again, study the job description beforehand. Prepare to highlight the most relevant skills. And if you have skills, the last point really should have been the second point. Brush up on those. So like I work in the IT space. So if I'm saying in my resume I'm really good at SQL or Excel spreadsheets and whatnot, I might want to brush up on some of my skills if I haven't used them in a while, because they may give some interviews, they may give you a technical interview. They may say, okay, here's an Excel problem, solve it. Some may give you that depending on the nature of the job. So if there are skills that you claim, but maybe you haven't worked for a while, and that's normal also. You can't, not necessarily every skill set is on the call unless you're working with it all the time. So again, if there are some skills, if you're a programmer, you might want to read up on some things and make sure you get your terms and terminologies right. Because again, some things you might put on the shelf for a while and you need to bring them back. So, certainly make sure you do that. Spend time on the company's website and get acquainted with their business. All right. View their view the LinkedIn profile. If you know who the interviewer is, it's okay to go to LinkedIn and look at their profile, how long they've been with the company, what's their background, and see, hey, they're pretty what they look like, all those are things that you can research ahead of the interview to get a sense of the company that you're working with. So those are things that, so spend a little bit of time in that process beforehand. You never want to go into an interview cold. And that's also going to may make a difference during the interview itself when you can ask questions about the company and show them that, yeah, I did a little research on you guys also. You guys looking into me, but I'm looking into you guys also. And then also find out, look, now, if there's a red flag that you may see in the company, then that's something maybe you may want to pull back on. But don't get to a state of desperation where it's like you're just going to go. No, do your homework to understand the nature of the business and see if it's something that you vibe with as well. So that's point number one. Let's get into dress. Now, again, dress is important. Again, even if it's on video, right? I've done both. I've done Zoom interviews and I've done in-person, face-to-face interviews. It really, in my mind, it really doesn't matter. I've dressed up. Now, when I say dress, I mean full dress. I'm not going to be get the suit, jacket, and shirt on and tie, and then be in shorts. I'm going to be ready, and for me, it's just a mindset. It's like if I'm going to play a game or whatever, I want to have my full uniform on. So so get dressed for your interview. And make sure that your clothing is going to be appropriate. Now, again, there's going to be some leeway here. Now, in my day, in the 90s and the 80s, they were very strict in terms of dress code and what you could wear and what you could not wear. And I recognize that styles have changed over time. And so we're going to talk about some of that. What are some of the options that you may have? in the process of getting ready for these interviews. So you see here, even in the picture with the shirts. Now, it used to be white shirt only. But in today's time, again, people are getting a little bit more loose or relaxed. And then also depending on the industry that you're going into. Now, I got a couple of daughters who work in the city. They work in the beauty and fashion business. You might be a little more liberal there. If you're going into like a traditional business, banking or finance, you might want to be a bit more conservative there. I wouldn't wear, looking at the picture, I wouldn't necessarily wear the shirts at the end, the pink or coral colored shirts and whatnot if I'm going for a bank or a job or something in finance per se. But I don't want to be so hard and strict on this to say you got to wear it, like this and that be the end of it. So let's talk about some of these options that might be available for someone in terms of, what's the type of dress. So again, depending on the job, you have smart casual attire that you can wear. Now, again, some no-nos. Again, you should never wear jeans, in my view, to an interview. So some khaki, some casual pants. No, never sneakers. Have some shoes. Okay. For men, a button shirt. Okay, not a pullover, definitely not a hoodie or anything like that. Again, as it says here in the picture, anything you'd wear to a gym is a no-no. So definitely be mindful of that. For ladies, again, pants. You don't have to wear a business suit necessarily, although they still have those. Again, a blouse, not a t-shirt. Again, flat shoes. Okay, not sandals or flip-flops. I mean, it needs to be some, kind of common sense sort of things. But again, look clean, look sharp, even in smart casual wear. And I know a lot of companies sometimes struggle with this, even with the employees that they have. I've been in companies where they've had smart casual, and some people abuse it. And with HR rules, that could be a little dicey too, because I've seen people wear inappropriate. These are employees now, inappropriate attire to work. But how HR approaches that is a little hands off. You may get that, every year they send like a flyer out and they'll say what you can and can't wear, no spaghetti straps and things of that nature or whatever. But if you got to be an HR person that has to confront that, I don't envy those positions. I'll say that much. If I got to call a lady into the office and saying, what you're wearing is inappropriate, that's a job I wouldn't want. But sometimes you got to do that though. So again, there's a smart casual look that you can wear, again, depending on the type of job that you're going for. There's certainly that kind of look that is appropriate. But then you have, again, the business casual look, where for men, you may want to have, again, a tucked in shirt and a jacket. Okay, wearing some loafers and some slacks. Ladies, again, same thing, a tailored blouse, also with a jacket on. So again, spiff it up a little bit. Again, in a lot of I'm seeing a lot in the IT tech sector, persons who may sport this type of look, especially on a phone interview. They may sport this type of look. And again, people aren't as hard as they used to be when it comes to, okay, you got to have the business suit on. But there are jobs where you may need a business a business suit. So again, you don't necessarily always have to wear a tie, but there are those jobs where, yeah, you come dressed. All right. So again, a tailored suit. Again, tailored meaning, make sure don't just buy it off the rack and put it on. Make sure it gets fitted properly. Now, again, there's been styles of suits over the years, but if you go back, my favorite time is if you go back to the 60s in terms of how those suits look. A well-tailored suit, it shouldn't be hugging you so tight that it shows all your form, and it shouldn't be baggy. Now, in the 90s, we kind of got a little crazy with the baggy sort of neo look or whatever, with the baggy suits like back in the 30s and 40s or whatnot. We kind of went overboard with the baggy suits. A suit shouldn't be too baggy, and it shouldn't be too tight either. And I've seen those styles, and I think that goes a little bit far, but it should be a well-fitted suit. Dark in color. Now, again, the classic colors that you can never go wrong with: black, charcoal gray, navy. You can never go wrong as a man. You can never go wrong with those colors. Some guys, you might want to, if you want to go with the more pastel or the lighter colors or the tans and whatnot, maybe not on a formal business interview. The tie, again, I don't mind going a little bit flare on the tie. You want to put a little red in your tie, whatnot. That's fine. Shoes. Now, again, some guys are big on, only dark black shoes. If you're going to wear a suit like that, you should only wear black. I've seen brown, I've seen burgundy color shoes, especially with navy suits. To me, those are fine. But I know some style mavens, you got all these guys with style channels and say, oh, you should never wear brown shoes with a navy suit and those kind of combinations or whatnot. But again, I think there's room here. But just make sure that whatever you're wearing, make sure things are good. Now, the only peeve I have, just looking at the gentleman, the only peeve that I have here is never, ever, ever wear white socks, especially white sweat socks with a suit. That's the one thing. Now, again, will I disqualify you for it? No, but it just looks bad. Just trust me on that. And I see a lot of people, especially a lot of folks who may come from a different country or whatever. They wear those sweat socks, white sweat socks with the suit. Just totally throws the look off. So again, socks should again align with the suit. And same thing with the ladies. Now, again, I see for a lot of ladies, a lot of the skirts is, to wear pants is perfectly normal and acceptable now for most women, you know. But again, it should fit you well. A nice blouse that goes with it. You can wear, pumps are a great option. But if it's killing your feet, then again, ballet shoes or loafers is fine. So again, as a woman or man, you can dress it up. Now, again, some people may say, well, I don't have money to buy a suit like that, or spend that kind of money on that kind of attire. There's plenty of places you can get suits at reasonable prices. Now, one spot that I've gone to over the years that I recommend people go to, K&G. They're available all over the country. K&G, they sometimes, if you go at the right time, they got to buy one, get suits for $150. They got the tailors there. They'll knock it out for 30, $40 extra to make sure that it's fitting well on you. And you can get away with that kind of look. So again, you don't have to go crazy spending $400 and $500 on a suit, especially if you're young and you don't have a ton of money. Don't go crazy on that. But there are budget places that you can get suits from, reasonably priced. And what I would also get is a suit that has a little stretch to it. Because again, if you're still growing or whatnot, or weight fluctuates and whatnot, you don't want to keep investing in suits. Have a suit that'll kind of grow with you, have a little elasticity to it. But again, your primary colors: black, charcoal gray, navy. If you want to throw a stripe pattern in there, you can kind of do that. But again, those are your safer colors. Ladies, kind of, you have a little bit more variation with the colors, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. And again, just for perspective, compare that to a pair of Jordans. So I know kids, you'll be like, I don't have money for a suit, but you can spend $200 on a pair of Jordans. Well, you can walk out of K&G, if you go at the right time, 2 suits for $200. So sometimes when people say, I don't have money, that's a value issue, not a money issue. And if you can save up for the Xbox, if you can save up for the whatever, you can invest in making sure that you have clothing where you can go into almost any situation and be appropriate. David has joined us. You have a question, sir?
Now that you mentioned it, I've been thinking about it. This is something I've heard for a while now. But concerning the people getting into the workforce, do you think it's safe by now? Like a lot of high schools are teaching these young people in advance about how to dress appropriate for an interview, because it's not just you have been saying it. A lot of people have been saying the same exact thing for years.
Mhm.
And you not being in the tech industry, I will say this: I've seen people who come to corporate headquarters not properly dressed. This happened in Sprint. and they call all the store managers to come into the headquarters, right?
Mhm.
Now, from you and I understand, if you're called to come to the headquarters, what would be the dress code coming in?
I'm sorry. I was just reading a comment from Kentucky. Can you repeat the question?
I'm sorry, I'll tell you, if I'll give you a perfect example. Sprint, no what Sprint is, this one
Yes.
phone carrier
Yeah.
out there. If they send out a memo to all the store managers to come to the headquarters
Mhm.
in New York City,
Mhm.
what would be the dress code for them to come in?
For Sprint, I don't know. Now, that's a good question. I wouldn't know, but I know Catelli. Now she mentions here, human resources handbook will describe what work attire is accessible. So again, if these are people who work at the company, you're going to have access to that. Now, the person who's coming in for the interview, you may not have access to that. So again, I would always say I would rather over if I'm gonna over I would rather overdress a little bit for an interview, and then once I'm into the culture, I can kind of figure it out or look at the handbook and see what's acceptable or not. But Sprint should have in their HR materials what is acceptable and what is not.
And that's what I thought. When I asked one of my team members, he said, Sprint, but I dropped the ball on this part because I don't want to be disrespectful, but he said out his own words. Some of these store managers don't have the business minded or the business savvy to understand when you're caught up to a headquarters, you can't just as you are. Because it can cost you your job. One, the store manager came with a football jersey and some shorts and sneakers, while all his peers were all dressed up business casual. And I was thinking, like you mentioned, they got the handbook.
Mhm.
They didn't have the handbook at that time. That's something I was looking at, and I was going even further. Like, are they teaching high school students that same thing too
Well, now, I
before they
mean,
graduate from
I
high?
know there've been programs that I've seen, especially in inner city, where you have guys who've come in and try to educate on these things. It's not something that's offered through schools as a part of the school curriculum or program. Now, again, unless you went to one of those schools that required to had a dress code, where you had to have a school uniform or something like that. But even then, that's not going to necessarily prepare you for the workplace. So yeah, so a lot of that sort of information kind of comes through private training or mentoring, sort of programs or whatnot. But it's definitely not offered. It's not offered in colleges. Most colleges don't give you pointers on dress code and whatnot. And I doubt most high schools will give you that type of training either. But certainly that should be again that's an HR issue if people are showing up to meetings, especially important meetings, and seeing people who are dressed inappropriately. Now, again, different companies, again, especially just given where we are today, they handle it with kid gloves. Some of them companies they'll have a memo every year reminding people of what the dress code is for the company. Uh, on if like I said, I've known HR people who've had to bring people in to say, look, your dress is inappropriate. Now, again, especially when you're dealing with the opposite sex and whatnot, that can be a very dicey situation that no HR person or if you're in any kind of leadership at all, that can get messy. But that's why it's important that an HR company has explicit, direct language talking about what the dress code should be and what is expected of people coming in, and that should be stated and also enforced. Now, the crazy thing about it is the last few companies that I work for, I'm looking at how the CEOs are dressing. And those guys are super casual. Like the guy who's head of the company I'm at now, the CEO, he's in jeans. He's in, sneakers. I mean, he's very casually dressed. I mean, so I'm like, or and same thing with I'm usually, in fact, I used to have a reputation. I would come in, I wouldn't dress in suit, shirt and tie, but I've been complimented on how I dress and how I put my pieces together, and I come in looking clean. I just something
And,
that I
and
just I
also,
just
I want
do.
to ask a question on that because I don't want to divert from this because when it comes to dress code, there's always have been a underground debate or discussion concerning that. Perfect example. For men, either you were victim casual, you get a pink slack and a button down shirt. Good, I understand it. But when it boiled down to the shoe aspect, I don't think it had been discussed deep enough.
Mhm.
There are some people who have an issue; they can never find the most comfortable shoes to wear
Mhm,
due to their feet condition,
mhm,
based on how the shoes are made or built. And some choose to wear a sneaker in their business casual outfit because that's the only thing they can find. So they don't want to be walking around dealing with footprint because I don't think people understand this small part of the issue. Not all shoes are made the same, but there's some people that are dealing with severe foot
mhm,
pains. Some of these shoes where they can't stay longer than an hour in these shoes.
mhm,
So they are forced to wear like an all black, something that one tone color so it don't look. Now, what's your concern about people come to interview wearing a dark or all black sneakers because they can't find a comfortable shoe to wear to match with the suit? How you feel about that? 'Cause I'm putting that out there for everybody else
mhm,
who always had an issue or wearing school when they wear the shoe. I'm telling you, I'm one of them.
mhm,
I made it a mission to find the most comfortable shoe to wear. If I can't find the most comfortable shoe to wear, I'm not killing myself so I can have severe foot injuries
mhm.
just because you want me to wear a shoe to work, knowing that it's killing me.
Well, I would say the first thing is this. Again, I can't. Obviously, there's going to be exceptions to that. I would never say wear sneakers to an interview regardless of your condition. I would say if you have a foot condition, first of all, go to a podiatrist, and most podiatrists are going to recommend that you have some orthotics made that can slip into shoes. And if you got to put an orthotic in and wear at the very least, wear some sort of slip on or tie shoe, get a little bit bigger so it can fit your orthotic. And then, certainly wear it certainly to and from the, you're only going to be in the interview for a couple hours. So, so
Okay.
I would deal with it then, but I would say one, go to a podiatrist, get orthotics made, and get shoes that can fit those orthotics. They might be a little bit wider. Because again, you got your standard D width, but you got some that are triple E width. Get something that's a little bit bigger that you can work in that shoe, because most foot problems I see people have is due to the arches or what have you is where the issues are. Not, as far as anything else specific, if that's all you can wear, that's all you can wear. And if that's an issue, then I guess you can talk about it. But again, part of this is to deal with what's generally correct. I can't deal with every exception, but I would say that's where it starts. Orthotics, getting a shoe that the orthotic can fit in and that you can get easily in and into. Don't get your exact size. Get something a little bigger so it can accommodate your orthotic. And that's probably the best thing I
Right.
can give you in
I
that
understand that because I've heard
situation.
that before in the past, and sometimes based on the cost of it, if you don't have insurance, it can be very pricey
Hmm.
more than the shoe itself. This is where people have a debate with themselves. Should I spend this X amount of money to get orthotic so I can wear a shoe when the cost of orthotic could be more than the cost of the shoe itself?
Yeah, but again, like I said earlier, as looking on the screen, that's sometimes it can be a money issue, and I don't want to downplay that it could be a money issue for people, but a lot of times it's a value issue. because
And
we're talking
that
because we're
one
talking because we're talking
I give you
about
credit.
your potential career. And so
I give you respect for that. Yes.
is it worth investing or turning down, canceling a subscription or whatever you got to do to come up with the money? Like I said, for a lot of folks I know, kids will say, I can't afford a suit, but they'll buy the Jordans or they'll buy the iPhone or whatever it is. I'm saying if that is
Totally
something that
correct.
is
I
a
agree with you on that
health
one.
issue, then make the accommodations, make the necessary moves. You may have to sacrifice some things in order to get what you need in order to secure your future later on. So I would, again, but again, anybody who has any health condition, you might be wheelchair bound or what have you. How do you deal with that, or how do you make accommodations for that? That's something that you're going to have to work out. It's not something I can address every situation there, but just be mindful of that. When you're applying for interviews, state if they're on the application, do you have a disability of some kind, whatever. Be truthful about that. If you need special access ramps to get into the building, be truthful about that. And again, they may not want you because of that, but some companies, due to incentives, they may want that. They make those things offers. All you can do is, again, and that's why, again, you sow liberally as far as putting your resumes and application out there. Have several interview opportunities stacked up so that, again, those that are going to turn you down, you got another option to get to. So, but let me move on from here. But I just wanted to cover that part on, again, your dress code. So again, you got some variation there, but also grooming. Now, again, I wouldn't think I'd have to talk about this, but I think sometimes you do. When it comes to grooming habits, I hope I don't have to tell people, yes, you should take a bathe regularly and take a shower. I hope I don't have to do that. But even in your hair game. Now, again, I'm going to be very liberal when it comes to hair. Obviously, I don't have any. David has a full head of hair. I don't have any facial hair. Some guys rock beards. Beards are relatively acceptable in the workplace now. Some companies were very strict, clean shaven. Beards, mustaches, if you're going to have one, if you're going for an interview, make sure it's tight. Go to a barber and get a proper haircut ahead of the interview. Don't go to an interview like you haven't shaven for a week. And when it comes to your grooming products or scents that you use, make sure you use something that is pleasant but not overpowering. I've seen men and women overdo it, especially on the perfumes and the colognes. Don't splash that stuff on. Again, watch some. I'm not here to explain that, but go watch some YouTube videos in terms of how to apply colognes and perfumes, and which ones might be good for business and in the business environment. But again, I don't want your scent the first thing I see when you come into the room, or smell when you come into the room. So again, but make sure you're well dressed. Again, you don't have to be suited and booted. It depends on the job. Some are casual or business casual, or spiffy casual is fine. But make sure everything else, your fingernails, make sure those are good. Make sure you're clean. And if you're wearing a beard or whatever, make sure that you're tight when you come in for the interview. So your grooming habits, make sure those are good. Now, one thing I want to bring up, especially for those persons of color, there are Crown Act laws. Like I said, I'm going to be very liberal on the hair because there's different expressions here. And I've seen cases, we all heard cases about schools prohibiting certain hairstyles or whatnot. There's still places in this country where some hairstyles are not accepted readily. I know with African Americans, we have all kinds of hair. We got guys with braids and dreads and women with braids and box braids and all kinds. I'm not going to tell you what to wear on your head because some of that is legally protected. Currently, the Crown Act, which basically saying you cannot be discriminated against because of your hairstyle. And it acknowledges the different cultural practices of people who wear different hairstyles. I'm not going to tell you what. If I had something to say, I would say don't go in with past bright pink and green and orange hair. I would say that. But outside of that, as long as it looks clean, as long as it's well kept and well groomed, hair's not smelling, depending on where you are. So again, you might want to take a look at this and find out the state that you're in. A lot of southern states, and I'm not going to get into the politics of why in southern states, but in a lot of these states, they don't have laws that protect hairstyles, or that hairstyles aren't protected. And where I'm at in New Jersey, you can wear pretty much any hairstyle that you want. As long as there's no offensive, you don't have any kind of crazy language shaved into your head or tattooed or whatever, you can wear pretty much whatever. And that's another thing, tattoos. Make sure when you interview, make sure that as best as you can, I would prefer that you cover those up. So wear, again, a full button shirt or whatever. No tattoos should be necessarily visibly be shown. But again, if you got sleeves and whatnot, that might be difficult to hide. So you're just gonna roll with it. And some people, they might be comfortable with that, and some people won't. But again, with that, you have no. I mean, once the deal is done, it's done. So you can't do anything with that once you have the tattoos. But your hairstyle, you got some control over. But again, depending on where you are, some are cool with it, some are not. And even in the places where it's supposed to be quote unquote protected, you never know how they're gonna take it. So again, I'm not gonna say men short hairstyle shave. If you got dreads, shave them off. Or women, don't wear weaves or the different hairstyles. I'm not going there. I'm just gonna say that. But just know what you're walking into. Know the type of careers and professions. Some places are more conservative than others. Like I said, if you work in a sort of a fashion or style, more stylized or hipper environment, they may allow for more variety there. I can't help you with that, but just be aware that some people may look down on it, some don't. Some places are protected and some aren't. Take a look at this slide. Go back and watch the show. Pause it at this point. Look at this slide or grow and look up Crown Act and look at the states that support it, and you'll find similar websites like this that will give you. And in some states, there may not be a state law, but certain municipalities, which is the listing on the bottom, that will show you places or municipalities that acknowledge the Crown Act. So you have that also to consider as well. So I'm gonna move away from the dress. Didn't want to spend too much time there, but just want to make sure I covered that thoroughly because I've been asked those questions in the past, and so I just want to make sure that was covered. All right, so again, when you come in fact, this should have been. Let me go forward here. I should have. Oh, during the interview. Okay, so this is going to be more for those who are especially on those on online interviews. Obviously, you want to speak clearly, listen closely, and show interest. Pay attention to your body language. Again, that's big. If you're not making eye contact, that's a tell. Or it's going to give the impression that you're being dishonest. Always show up at least 15 minutes before your interview. Bring copies of your resume with you for interview. So again, just different, common sense things that you should know ahead of time before you go into the interview. Now, this next one here is for online. All right. So again, if you're going to be doing an online interview, again, test your video conference software. So again, if they give you a link to the interview ahead of time, test it. Make sure your Wi-Fi is paid, your internet is paid for, right? Make sure if you're setting it up on your phone, make sure your phone is steady. Don't be holding your phone during the interview. It should be on a tripod or a stand or something and steady. All right. So again, you definitely want to still keep a copy of your resume with you for reference. You want to sit in a place that's quiet and cool and silence your phones. Okay. So do not disturb. So on your phone, there should be a do not disturb mode. Make sure that's activated. Make sure there's not a background noise. If you got kids in the back, you got to let them know ahead of time. Hey, I got an interview. Tell mama whatever, keep the kids at bay or whatever. You want to be in a place that's quiet. But if your kids are going to be running in every 2 minutes, that's a problem. And it's going to show that, you don't have any really control over your household. Make sure if there's a TV playing in the other room or whatever, or they're jumping, hey, I got an interview. My daughters reminded me of that. Hey, I got an interview. I got a meeting. I need everybody to be quiet, no loud noise or whatever. I got to be on this. I got to be on this. I got to be on this interview. So you definitely want to make sure that, again, no distractions. Look sharp. Like I talked about the dress code earlier. You still want to look sharp even on a video interview. And make sure that you can get in. Make sure your connection is good. You don't have any Wi-Fi issues. Make sure all that's tested out before you get on. So again, tips on the tips on that before you go in. So now during the interview, all right. So again, you're in interview process, and I meant to have this earlier, but I can't emphasize this enough. Smile, which some people today, I don't know what's going on. Some people, it's like they're afraid to smile. I get the fact that you might be nervous, but people, being human beings, they want a friendly, happy expression. Your body language says a lot. Your face says a lot. If you're aloof, that's not going to go well. Smile and a handshake. Again, a firm handshake, not a gorilla handshake. All right. I'm not trying to crush someone's hand, but it shouldn't be limp either. And Dave was talking earlier about what you teach your kids. Yeah, I think you need to teach your kids, especially your sons, how to do a proper handshake. So again, smiling. And again, you see here the two looks here again. Some job, depending on the job, some are casual, some are more professional. But you can win a lot of people over from the jump if you, again, smile. Do you have enthusiasm? Are you happy to be there? All those things are important. So again, how you started out, oftentimes is how the interview goes. Smile and handshake as you go in. Now, once you're in, some do's and don'ts. Now, again, I'm not going to give you. We're not playing scenarios here in terms of how an interview should go, because you never know how it's going to go. You can do rehearsals and things of that nature, but again, you don't know the person who's interviewing you. You don't know the dynamic, how that's going to work. So again, instead of trying to overplay it, again, if you did the work in your resume, then an interview is simply a defense of your resume. So again, similar points we're going to talk about here. Never misrepresent your work experience or education. Be truthful about your technical skills. So if you put it on the resume, you better be able to defend it. And in a technical interview, like I said, there have been cases where they'll be like, okay, go on a board, or here's an equation, here's a situation, solve it. If you say that you're proficient in that, whatever that is, if you're proficient in SQL, query languages, they may ask you to write some queries. And that's why I also said, if that's something where you're not up to game on it, before the interview, you might want to go and, again, go through your notes and whatnot and brush up on those skills. Be prepared to discuss all your technical skills listed on your resume in depth. Not only in depth, but the last point, be ready to give examples of how those skills produce tangible results. How did you use and apply those skills? Can you talk about scenarios, a situation, a problem that you had to solve? And how did you go about doing it? And what was the outcome from it? People love to hear, interviewers love to hear stories of success, how you were able to, there's a problem and how you were able to solve it. So be ready to share those in the interview. But again, how's your resume? Again, good resume can be a good interview. Bad resume, an inaccurate resume, could be a bad interview. Be ready to defend what you put on there. Additional notes, emphasize the reasons you would be an asset to the company through the interview. You want to be confident, but not arrogant. And how can you be confident about not arrogant? Just say what you did. They describe a scenario in work or whatever. Oh, I work with that. Oh, we had a similar thing. The job I'm at now, actually not the job. When I accepted my job, I got 2 offers on the same day. And one of the companies that I applied for, I didn't have necessarily the skill set and proficiency that they were necessarily looking for, but I had the experience to deal, because the environment they were in was exactly the one I came from. So then it became an issue of, well, he may not have necessarily all the technical things down, but we can teach him that. But he's demonstrated and proved that he can work in a chaotic environment with the technology that's crashing from day one and working with individuals in terms of how to solve problems. And I was able to share those stories with them. So I wasn't arrogant about it. I'm just this is what I did. And this is how we overcame this particular situation. So again, the interview is about, again, connection. How can your experience, your past experience, how you can be an asset to them in the current situations that they're dealing with. The interviewer is going to describe the job, the tasks that need to be done, all that's going to be described. You also, in an interview, you need to be listening. I know they're going to be asking you questions, but you need to be listening, because that is then going to give you opportunities to then insert in, oh, I had an experience like that. I had a similar situation to that. And then they're going to ask you, well, how'd you get over that? How'd you solve it? Boom, you can go in and share how you solved it. So again, I know you can be nervous going into an interview and all that, and I know there might be a desperation that you want the job, but again, listen so you can respond. But don't be so eager to just give information out without understanding what they are bringing down. At the end of the interview, in the interview, by showing a genuine interest in the opportunity and a desire to move forward in the process, but be ready for multiple interviews. Now, again, back in my day, you didn't have too many interviews. Nowadays, you can have, for some people, it could take 6 weeks before you made an offer, depending on the job, depending on the position. I mean, if it's an executive position or whatever, there could be rounds. Back in the day, you would maybe have one day, you were in the office one day, you might speak to 2 to 3 people, maybe 4 people in that same day while you were there. And they would decide whether or not they wanted you or not. But nowadays, you go through rounds and go up the ladder, talking to the director and then the VP and then sometimes the president or what have you. And at any time, I've known people who've gotten into the last round, and it came down to a couple individuals and someone else was selected. So you got to be ready for that. But again, it's the same thing I said earlier. Are you, just like you sow your resume, again, you need to have interviews. Interviewing is a skill also, to go through an interview, to share your story, to share your testimony of how you overcame. That's a process you have to do over and over and over again. And the last time I had to go through interviews, I had a lot of them. I got better with every interview. So be ready for that process. Don't get dissuaded because an interview didn't go well. Don't be dissuaded if you went through a few rounds and you didn't get to the last round or whatever, or you got to the last round. Again, because if you got interviews stacked up, then you're not worried about the one. But if you're going to play onesies and twosies with interviews, you're going to be too invested in the interview. And again, that body language is going to come off. But this person may say, no, guess what? This interview was at 2. I got another interview at 5. And that's how your approach has to be. So liberally, so that you have a lot more options at the end of the day. And I was getting interviews. I'm walking a dog in the morning. Recruiters are calling me up saying, yeah, we found your resume on LinkedIn, or somebody got your resume to us. And hey, can we set up an interview today? Okay. I'm just walking the dog. I didn't. Some of these places I didn't even apply for. Whereas places where I went intentionally to apply for the website, I never got a call back. So again, the mindset of sewing is vital in not only your resume, but also in the interview process. Be ready to share your story and to share your testimony to as many people who is willing to hear it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, technical skill or specific job skills or things that with the job can be learned. But finding people who are enthusiastic, finding people who are motivated, finding people who've overcome, that's rare. So companies will take risks on somebody who can give that. But you coming with a bad attitude, showing up late, uninterested, only there for the check. I've seen that. I've seen there's no life in the eyes of the person when they came in. And I'll go back and when we review this stuff, I'll be like, nah, that's not the one. They're here in body, but they're not here in spirit. They would rather be somewhere else. Again, it's not necessarily what's said. Again, your body language can speak a lot louder than what you're saying with your mouth. So all those are important key skills when it comes to interviews. I'm going to wrap up here in terms of questions to ask. Now, again, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. But usually towards the end of an interview, they give you an opportunity. Do you have any questions for us? What are some questions to ask? And it's interesting that David's on because he talked about a situation where, again, and I don't know if you asked these questions or not. They could have just lied to you. I have no idea. But these are things that, again, don't be afraid to ask. Because, again, this is a partnership. And so it's got to be right for you. You got to be right for them, and they got to be right for you and your life situation.
Let me speak on that. I've done that plenty of time on in-person interview at my video interview, whereby if you for a tech position and they didn't fill me in on the type of environment they're around, I'll be like, okay, may I ask a question? What kind of ticketing system are you using? They'll tell you they're using Remedy. They'll tell you, are you using Remedy? Are there any chance you're using Remedy, then you'll later on migrate into another ticketing system like
Mhm.
Service Now, which was the other type of question I first asked. And I asked my own questions. What is the setup you have? Are you using more straight STM or using STM with another third party application or using STM with a mixture with Arterios? I'm sure people who understand Arterios, it should be a particular application used along with STM for software management too as well. Now we have Intune, that's the next thing. So I'm not sure they will incorporate Intune with Arterios. You get what I'm saying? I would ask specific questions to understand the type of tech environment that I'll get myself
Right.
into. Now, if I want to go to further, what kind of phone system you using? Now, people would think like, what do you mean what kind of phone? Because we all know that that tech. The three type of phones that most companies use. Either using the Cisco iPhone, using the Avaya
Right.
phone system, or using the Polycom phones which corporate work with Microsoft Teams. Now, those are the type of technical questions I will ask so I can be familiar, so I can be aware of the
Right.
environment. Because when you've been in a lot of technical environment, you want to be sure that you are prepared what kind of environment it may
Mhm.
be. If I want to ask the ratio, what is the ratio between desktop to Mac
Mhm.
users? That will let me know if the ticket system will be more based on more PC ticket or more than Mac. I ask questions just to be familiar if you in my field. I'm sure in your field you may ask certain question based that you can relate to or be prepared
Mhm.
for that you could do your
Right.
homework on. Now, we come to asking questions, it's good to ask questions so you can feel the
Right.
environment. So you can gauge on what they have that you may need to learn. Or I'll put it out there. Do you have any e-learning program that allow tech to learn things on their free time when they have a downtime? Let's say we knock all our ticket, there's nothing there. So can I able to go into your e-learning system and learn new skill as I go so I can be more of a greater access than a liability to the team? Those are kind of questions I normally just throw out there before in the past, plenty of times, just to gauge them if they want to build someone to be an asset to them or not.
Yeah. It-
Those kind of things. But what you said is totally correct. When you do have these type of interview, you want to ask unique questions so you can see where you're going to. Let's say it could be a long term job. If it's a short term job, sometimes it's not so safe to ask that type of question because it only hire you for a short term period of time. So you can't really go too far. You have to figure out what kind of question you can
Right.
ask, so it can show the level of interest in that. So I'm thinking this is very, very critical when you come to ask that
Right.
question.
Right. And again, coming from your background, obviously you want to ask some of those technical questions to be familiar with the environment that they're in. But I wouldn't be so apt on the technical questions because, again, the technical stuff can be learned. So again, as long as you come in with a mindset, are you showing this person is capable of adapting to the environment that we're in and working in the environment that we're in is more important than the technical aspect of the question. The type of questions that I'm asking or that I'm going to share or propose here are going to be a lot more general that deal to lifestyle. Because you said earlier, yes, you went in for the job and there was these expectations, but they had you working in another area altogether. So the technical really didn't matter because they never put you in the place where you thought that you were going to be. So maybe there might be more relevant questions to ask. The nitty gritty will come with time and experience and whatnot. And you'll see the layout and whatnot and see if you can work with it or not. But don't get so fixated on the technology that they're currently using or that they'll be upgrading into something else in the future, whatever. Just be ready to roll with and rock with what they're rocking with. Unless you have a specific desire of interest, no, I want to work in this, then that's going to obviously limit you to places where that technology is being deployed and available. But if you want to talk about, look, I just need to get in because I need, certainly I need work, I need experience, I need money, I need, I got kids, just those general things. Like I'm at this point in my career, I don't care what I do now. I've never gotten so caught up in a particular skill set. I've changed jobs and job titles. I've done things that are not part of my job. And it's interesting because a lot of those skills I was able to take to another job. I didn't have this attitude though. Well, that's not my job. It's like, look, we need you to do this. We're short staffed or whatever. We need you to take this on. Fine. What is it? I'll do it. And I get experience from that. And guess what? I learned it and then I put it into the next job. So again, technical questions, again, it's good. Obviously, they're going to ask you technical questions to see that you can do the job. That's the important thing. But I wouldn't get so caught up on that it's going to block me in certain ways, especially when, certainly if there's a need for work. So again, a lot of the questions I'm going to ask, again, a little bit more general. What are some of those questions I'm going to ask? Okay. One, how quick are you looking to hire? Again, the answer to this question will help you understand the timeline so that you can know how to move forward with your job search. Again, if they're like, look, we'll make a decision today. Again, that's going to make a difference in terms of if you got other interviews lined up or whatever, or when they expect to hear from you. If this is just early in the process, are they feeling a need because someone's out? Was a new job rec created? And it might be a potential thing. Now, I'm somewhat leery. I'm somewhat leery of those because a lot of times they'll put a rec in, and then from the higher ups, there might be a decision that's made that says, oh, well, yeah, we were going to do that, but then business or budget decided to pull that offer back. So it's got to be a need. So again, those are questions that I think you need to be asking. How quickly are you looking to hire? If they're looking to move pretty quickly, more than likely it is a need versus just something that they're looking to expand on later on. Because again, I've seen how budgets and I've seen how things change. All right. Another question. What's a typical day in the life of someone in this role? Again, you want to get some understanding. What are you going to be doing on a regular basis? So again, these are things that you want to get answers to, and this gets more into what Dave was saying earlier. Again, they thought he was going to be doing something, but now he's doing something totally different. They should be able to spec that out if it's legit, what you're going to be doing, or what specific thing they need you for. But if it's going to be in the ether, then you could be just sitting there doing something else altogether. Another question. How is performance measured, and how often can I expect feedback? All right, this question demonstrates that you are serious about performing well getting feedback, and continuously improving yourself to build your career. So again, if this is a place that you're looking to put a stake into, how serious are they going to be about it? And are they about your development? Which gets into the next question. I think David asked this question. We'll get to it. It's on a slide coming up. Typically, how many overtime hours do employees clock in for this role? This will help you understand the nature and demands of the role, and you can assess is this a good fit for you. Again, if you got kids, and look, overtime. Everybody's got to do overtime sometimes. We recognize that. But if it's overtime all the time and you're not looking for that, and you got other things or responsibilities that you're looking to be doing, then yeah, maybe it's like, so again, just understand the workload. If it's like, look, we working 50, 60 hours a week here because we grinding. Then you can make a decision. Is that going to align with your goals or not? Also, these days, especially now with the whole remote virtual thing, you got to ask yourself that question also. It's like, look, is this going to be a hybrid position? Or is it a fully remote position? And if it is, how long am I expected to be on? Because a lot of times what happens with a lot of people is, yeah, I'm working remotely, but a lot of people find themselves working more hours remotely than if they go to the office. So if you expect me to be available 24/7, I don't know if I can do that. At some point, I got to have a turn off after 6, after 7 o'clock. I'll see you guys in the morning. But if it's like, you could be working 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, then those are things that you should know up front before taking this on. Shout out to Quiet King 24. I guess a great question would be how to determine that a new software engineering job internship is not really a good one, and should you go elsewhere or reject the internship? Now, again, are we talking about a paid internship or not? That's a question I would ask. But even then, if my short answer, I think I might have talked about it earlier, you may not know. But like I was telling David earlier, don't necessarily, especially if you're young, don't be so locked in on a specific software engineering job. Get the experience. If it's paid, even better. Because like I said, technical skills can be learned. Learning how to work with a team, learning to work with a structure where you got deadlines and whatnot, working with different software, all of that is going to be valuable. Working in a chaotic environment is valuable. How I got the jobs that I have now, as well as like I talked about the job I talked about earlier, because I worked in a chaotic environment where I had to do everything. Because we were letting go people left, right, and center, and there was jobs needed to be done, and people need to come in and do it. Again, one of the most valuable assets is flexibility. Your willingness to learn and to take on new challenges. So if you spend an internship, so what's that, 6 months? What is that, a summer? Yeah, I'd put 3 months in there, especially if it's at a corporate level type of job or corporate environment. I don't know what you're going to get there. But especially if no one else is offering, yeah, go in and get the experience and see what happens. You may wind up, you can either like it or you could hate it, but you can always take whatever that experience is, do the best that you can in that position, and then take it and go to the next one. Again, don't be so locked in. It's got to be this technical thing. No, learn everything in the software development life cycle, in the engineering life cycle. Learn all of it. I've been a business analyst. I've been a systems analyst. I've been a QA analyst. I've been all of those things. It'll give you a better appreciation for how all the parts work together. And go in with an enthusiasm and an attitude that embraces it. So yeah, you want to get a sense of what your work balance is gonna look like. Okay. So what is here's what I was referring to David. What are some of the most important milestones you'd like to see me accomplish within 90 days? Again, they weren't honest with him in terms of what the work was going to be. If they were, then he wouldn't have wasted his time because they didn't have a 90-day goal for him as far as in this specific case. But again, are they serious about developing you in your career? Or are they just using you as a placeholder for something else? So again, you're putting them on the spot in terms of, do I have a future here? Those are important questions to ask. So again, not going to get so hung up on the technical stuff, but there should be a plan in place. Again, most important question for me is, when are you looking to hire? If they can go a month without you, then they probably don't need you. I'll just say that up front. They don't need you. But those are the sort of things you need to be really focused about. I got a couple more here, and again, I'm just giving some high level stuff here. Again, you're gonna have to go through the interviews and get better at interviews and interviewing. Last one, David, I think you asked this question. You talk about the online. Are there any specific job trainings that would be provided? Are there any professional development opportunities? Those are important questions to ask. Again, especially if you're looking to settle here for the long term.
Now, I want to click on this. This type of question that I will apply to not only to tech professional like IT tech, or any type of job that require you to add upon your skill that you already had
Yeah.
already to build upon. I think that is everybody, either in the legal field, you're in the tech field, you're in the marketing field, you're in banking. I think that is the question that you want to ask if you are applying to not just from, let me rephrase it. Mr. Benedict, we have been to the what they call contract to hire zone, whereby a lot of the tech jobs we are applying for the tech job, there's no permanent position, unlike back in the day. Now, if you're applying for any corporation, it's mostly contract to hire, either 6 months before you get hired. Now, anything beside that, either you're in the marketing, you're in the legal, you're in the financial firm, whatever, I think that it's a unique question you have to ask so that the employer or the interviewer can see a level of interest that you have. Because for one, you don't plan to just join no big company without reason or pathway to climb up. If that is correct, if I'm putting out there.
Yeah, unless you want to live that lifestyle. Like I said, I've lived the consultant lifestyle. So
I
I
have to.
already
I don't like it.
knew I'm not getting benefits, which is why I had to get the maximum dollar because I had to pay for that stuff out of pocket on my own. I know I'm not getting benefits here, but so I kept it moving. I did that for what? Till I got 2001. So from 1992 to 2004.
And this is for contract tech job, IT.
Yeah.
This is something that we're trying to explain to a lot of
Yeah.
people. They're not trying to hire permanent employee.
Right.
When you're applying for a tech position, just know that it's multi-contract first.
Right. And also know that the rate should be higher, by the way, because again, the trade-off is if you get hired with benefits, then the salary is going to be less because they're going to be giving you medical and all. Now, again, especially it was good because again, for a lot of that time, I didn't have kids yet. I didn't have a family yet. I could get away with that. When you have kids, then yeah, you look for those benefits because you need the health insurance or whatnot. Because again, health insurance gets mad expensive once you have kids. But when you're single, and at that time, I mean, you could travel. I mean, I used to travel for work, travel to different places for work assignments and whatnot. Boom, I was living out of a suitcase, no problem. So again, you also have to have an understanding of where you are in your life, and it's not always going to be different. My man, Quiet King, shout out, congrats! You got the resume and everything, getting your and your cover letter, and you got your getting your references. Very good. In your situation, yeah. You should work with a band. If you're not married, you don't have kids, You should go with a band and take anything and everything that they give you. Soak it up.
I'll
But
agree,
if you
one
got but if
thousand
you got
percent.
responsibilities at home, marriage, kids, and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, you're in a different place. So again, that same job may not be right for you depending on your station in life is. So also be ready for that. Some people, will only, you need a remote job. And I know companies are starting to pull back on these remote positions. They want people in the office and whatnot. So that to me, that's a variable. They can promise you that, well, yeah, this is fully remote, and then they start, wanting more. Or you need to come in 1 day a week, 2 days a week, all the way up to 5 days, 5 days a week. You never know, but that's something that a lot of, and again, it's a political matter at this point. And again, I'm not getting into that, but again, you have to in your job search also consider your lifestyle and what you can get away with. The last one I have for tonight, and again, certainly missing the coach tonight, but hopefully he's doing well and with the games, and I'm sure we'll get a report from him. But I thank David for being part of this conversation tonight. Last thing here, never bring up salary, bonus, benefits, personal time off, at least not in the initial interview. So questions not to ask. Don't ask these questions in the first interview. Because again, that's a turnoff. It's like you go out with a girl, David, and she's like, "Well, how much money do you make?" You know what I'm saying? So I'm just
That's
that's
another
a
conversation.
yes, that's a different show. But
We will discuss that on a later show.
that's a totally different show. But I'm just saying that because they can sniff. Oh, they're just here for the money. Are they going to be all in? Especially if you talk about a job where they're looking to hire you and bring you into their culture. Even if you want the money, because especially, let's face it, you get older, you get to my age and whatnot. Yeah, it's like I don't have a lot of years left in this game. It's about show me the money. I'm like that movie, Jerry Maguire. Show me the money, but I'm not going to tell you show me the money. And usually, again, you're going to know that information ahead of time anyway. Especially if you're going through a recruiter, they posted in the job listing. It's either going to be an hourly rate or an annual rate. Blah blah blah. You're going to know a lot of those details ahead of time anyway. So why you been bringing that up?
But I would say that to the second to the last slide you had. If you're not in the tech industry, but you're in some other kind of educated field, I would tell you to act. They're going to sponsor you for your future education that you're going to plan to get another degree while you're working at that company, so you can use that for a chance of a promotion. I would suggest that too as well.
Mhm.
Because I don't think a lot of people ask that question like, okay, if I join the company, if I want to get another degree because I took a position within the company and I believe this degree will help me land that position, would I get sponsored by the
Mhm.
company? I think that's the kind of unique question
Yes,
is you should
you should.
ask.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm not throwing that out there for all the young
Yep,
guys
you
out
can
there, young
right.
guys, young ladies.
You can certainly ask that, but ask them for personal time off. Just especially if you're a young person getting started. Look, a lot of these companies, they expect you like don't even think about vacation for the first year. If you come in there and be like, oh, even if they're offering you 2 weeks of vacation up front when you start, usually it's 2, and if you're there for a few years, it gets to 3 or to 4. But don't bring that up right away. It's like, oh, you just got here and you're trying to go on vacation. That's a bad look. So I'm just saying. So be ready for that. Again, Pete here in a Shepherd Cook job, you will know how much you will get paid at the end of the interview when the offer is made, and you have to estimate not whether or not you'll be making to the end of the interview. So yeah. So they'll usually bring it up. But again, as far as those things, benefits, all that, it'll come up in due time. And then you can have a decision, whether or not you want to take that on or not. So these are just some basics. As far as again, just pointers. Again, so we covered preparation, we covered dress code, we covered grooming, what you say in the interview, how you enter an interview, and how you leave it. Again, smile. Can we do that? Can we bring smiling back? My gosh. Can we show some whites?
No me mugging.
Yeah, it's like people just want to play, you want to play poker face or whatnot. But yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Another thing I know I should not be saying this, ladies. Try not to introduce your interviewer, please.
I mean, show what?
Try not to seduce your
Oh,
interviewer.
seduce your interviewer. What we're gonna have? What's that? What was that movie? Was that Basic? No, was that Basic? Was the one where the lady crossed her legs?
Make the ink thing.
Was it
Yeah.
Basic Instinct or whatever? Yeah, you don't want
Yes. Yeah.
you don't want that in an interview. No, that's not a good look either. But I can't say I've ever seen that.
It's still going on in today's society, which I find that
I've
very,
never
very
seen it.
weird.
Or and again, I've interviewed people. I've talked to people who've interviewed people, and they have certain stories they'll tell. I've never heard of anyone doing the basic instinct move or something seductive to somebody or whatever. But look, we know office, stuff happens in the office or whatnot. We still know that goes on sometimes or whatnot. So I can't say it doesn't exist, but yeah, you just want to be professional. You want to be you want to certainly put yourself in the best light. But again, everything is built on something else. When you're first starting out, just be willing to show up, have a good mindset, a good attitude, smile, firm handshake, say I'm ready to go, and be willing to be filled. I don't care what they
And stay
I
calm.
don't care what they
And stay
give you
calm.
in the job itself. Just get to work. Develop a work ethic in the job. Then take what you did. No, we're not going. No, we're not doing. Don't even show what he said. Don't even put in with the chat what he said. No, we're not. We're not doing this. We're not doing this, Pete. We're not. But
No, we're
no,
not
we're
doing
not
that.
doing
I'm
that.
not blowing.
But but again, be open. For guys, if you've been in the game for a while, be open. For everybody, be open. Because I know a lot of guys, especially when COVID hit, and a lot of guys were out of work, but they were too stubborn to look for or apply for something else because they were so sure that they would get back to where they were, or at least back to the status of where they were or higher. And 1 month became 3 months, became 6 months, became a year, became 2 years, and still didn't have work. Their wife left them, and all other kinds of stuff went on. So I'm saying you don't want to do that. Sometimes doors have to close. Be willing to go through new ones and take on jobs
No,
that you weren't even considering. Like I said, in my field, I'd say maybe 40% of the people in my field. I saw what I said. I see what you I see what you said. So I don't know who's got it here, but again, I'm not going there with you. But in any event, again, 40% of people on my field have computer science degree or something computer related degree. Everybody else came from something else: engineering, medicine, English, marketing, whatever it was. Those people were simply willing to put themselves in a position to do something else, and they just roll with it. And they found themselves in executive positions because they knew how to work with people and knew how to organize and knew how to get things done. So again, be open to receiving and then see what happens.
now I'll make this one announcement. I've been seeing on the feed that's saying that Home Depot is offering some free training for HVAC, for floor plumbing, for carpentry. If you have been in a particular field long enough, you feel like you're not finding a job, and you're willing to do something different, check out your local Home Depot location and see if they have that certificate program that people have been advertising on social media out of lately, where you get more free completed certificate. That's to the HVAC. These more like blue collar job, HVAC, brickmaking, carpentry, painting, the type of job that I will not sleep on it. Take it from me. I spoke to people who work in that field. Those jobs do make money. They do generate money. If you're working on the construction site, or you're helping people hook up the AC unit, or you're doing those type of corporate, you help them set up those AC unit, or you're doing the painting, you're doing carpentry, they do pay well on the long run. So I would say if you feel like your quick how reach, and when try something different, go to your local Home Depot location, see what you can
Mm.
do.
Awesome, awesome. And again, so a lot of those skills you learn, those are lifelong skills. You know, you can use them anywhere. Plumbing, electrician, you know, carpentry skills. You can use those anywhere. So, but that
I'll look up. I will learn brickmaking to build my
there
own
you go.
home.
There you go. But with that, hopefully this was instructional. Hopefully we gave some things to think about. Certainly go back and watch the video, and more importantly, share the content. If you found this valuable, you think someone could certainly learn from this content, by all means, you know, share it with others, and you know, all the best in your job search. I think in the subsequent weeks, we're going to talk about again networking and you know how to be better at that and getting your name out there and whatnot. So again, a few more shows in this topic that we're looking to cover. Hopefully, the coach will be back next week. We can cover that. But again, I appreciate David for being my co-host tonight. And yeah, so you know this was fun, and you know looking forward to more great content. So again, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. For myself, Mr. Bennett, make sure you hit the like button as you leave the show tonight. For myself, for brother CBN, aka Bear Paw, aka Black David, appreciate you being here as always, brother. Thank you for everything that you do for this channel. Really appreciate you. For everyone else, take care. God bless, and we will see you next time. Good night.